my fellow Wedding Florist friends, and welcome to the Wedding Florist Social Podcast. This is the podcast for wedding florists to learn all about acing their online presence. I'm your host, Vicky Laffey, and as a wedding florist of over 10 years now and a certified digital marketer, I want to help you get the right clients, get more followers, and never be stuck for content ideas again. Click the link in my description to get your free Wedding Florist Guide to Social Media Content Creation today. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to this next installment of Wedding Florist Social. Really happy to have you here. Really glad you're listening. Appreciate every single one of you. But I wanted to talk about something a little different today, so kind of a little tangent, rather than just trying to kind of teach you all things all the time. I wanted to get this perspective of a fellow real life florist on this particular topic. We're going to be talking to Viv Bradford, and she is the owner of Mrs. B's Flower Company, who has been around a long time. I'll let Viv talk you through that in a second. But she's also a florist business coach, predominantly to new florists. And I'll get her to give you the details at the end. If anyone is interested, the link to her group will be in the podcast show notes. But we want to chat today about those florists who've been in the industry a long time, and they don't know how to use social media, etc. Because I deal with a lot of florists at different levels, different ages, ability stages of their career, etc. And they come to me because they need help with their business and their social media and website, and just their wedding florist business in general. But some have never learned about social media for business, because some of those are florists who've been in the industry a long time and are finding themselves kind of confronted with this situation where they're having to learn about it and kind of incorporate it into their lives, because in this day and age it's crucial to business and attracting clients. So first of all, I'll let Viv have a little chat. Viv, hello and welcome. That was a bit of a big preamble from me, but hello and welcome. It's lovely.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
No, it's lovely to speak to you for the first time, thanks to online technology.
Absolutely.
Even though we did have a little technical hitch where we couldn't hear each other before we started recording, which only probably proves Viv's point even more. But Viv, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourselves? How long have you been in the industry? How you first started out and things like that.
Absolutely. My first buttonhole I made when I was 7.
Wow.
So my aunt worked part-time in a florist and I just loved being there with her. So she used to take me and we used to make trays and trays of carnation buttonholes wrapped in silver paper.
Oh, I remember those.
So trendy in their day. So I've moved on a little bit from that, went to live in West Germany in the 80s and actually trained as a florist over there. Mm-hmm. And when I came back to the UK, I couldn't get a job because I could only do a hand-tied bouquet. Mm-hmm. And here we were still doing bouquets in those cake bag things. Do you remember those?
Oh, yes, those flat bouquets. Yeah.
So a hand tie was a strange and exotic beast to the UK in the late 1980s.
Well, for those American florists who are watching us, we're talking about the European hand-tied bouquet, as you guys call them. So, yeah, I didn't realise there was a day and age. I forget. I grew up in the 80s and it was all flat kind of bouquets that you would normally just use for funerals now. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that was quite an eye-opener when I came back. And then, obviously, I've worked in lots of different areas in floristry, opened up my own business after running other people's businesses and making them rich about 7 years ago, and I'm very lucky. It's been very successful and it's very busy, but I'm at the age now where I feel I want to give back a bit more to those that are coming up behind me. I was really lucky and had some amazing mentors, so that's part of my motivation now. But like you said, social media for somebody of my age is actually quite difficult to get to grips with. I can remember taking into floral orders over the telephone. Yeah, that's how we did it. So, even email was a huge deal. And while I've got to grips with the basics of it, it's not something that comes naturally. It's not like floristry. For me, The other day, my grandson was here, who was 18 months old, and he swiped the telly with 2 fingers. And I just thought, that's the world you live in, where everything is swiped to make it work. And he was genuinely confused that TVs don't work that way. Well, I guess some do, but mine doesn't.
Possibly some do, actually. Yeah.
I'm not that posh. I haven't got one of those. And it's just really underlined the difference between what it's like for somebody who's perhaps just starting out their floristry career, as a student now, straight out of school. They're immersed in this social media world, everything about it. And then if you're a career changer or somebody who's been doing it for a long time like me, it's actually a whole new skill set to learn. And I think we're a little bit scared of it, if I'm honest. I am, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's thank you for being honest about that. It's, as I deal with a lot of people who are like yourselves and that they want to learn about such things. So it's really good for me to kind of hear the emotions behind that and what's stopping you. But yeah, I mean, it's not just social media, is it? It's websites, it's Pinterest, it's everything. The world we live in now is very different, even from when I was younger. I'm a child of the 80s, and for the first kind of 15 years of my life, there were no mobile phones. I remember being about, I think, 13, and there was these new things called websites appearing, and you would see things on TV, commercials with www dot in front of them, and you're thinking, oh my goodness me, this is a whole new world. So whilst, the internet's been around for about, I think, 40, 50 years now, it's not been in common use since till the mid 90s, really. And even then, I didn't get my first phone until I was about 18. But, when I was younger, the only computer that was available was one that was at the local library, and you had to book in to use it for an hour and maybe play games on it. Or, in my generation, there was at least, I suppose, Nintendos and things like that starting to come about. So, but still, I grew up in an era without, phones, mobile phones, smartphones, websites, really. So well, I've kind of had both worlds, I suppose. The first half of my life has been spent like that, and the second half has been doing what I do for you guys now and teaching you about such things. But yeah, our consumers, our clients are also online. That they're using things like Pinterest and Instagram and all sorts of things as a tool to help them plan their weddings, not just as a some sort of leisurely activity. It's an actual tool to plan their weddings with. So we have to be on there. I think you only have to think about the ubiquitous dragonfly bouquet that we've all been sent from Pinterest. Oh.
The white one with the grey foliage around the edge.
Yes.
Every florist I know has been sent that pin from Pinterest. I mean, wow! If I'd have made that bouquet, I'd have been so thrilled.
You say, so many platforms.
Yeah, so many platforms to get your head around, and now TikTok as well, which apparently I'd need to get my head around too.
Yeah, I'm only just starting with that to be fair. But yeah, it's changed the way. The internet has changed the way our consumers think, our potential
Definitely.
clients. And rather than coming to you in, say, the 80s and saying, I want to book some wedding flowers in, please. Now they're coming to you and saying, via an online channel, first of all, and then saying, I've seen these pictures, and send you screenshots of this, that, and the other bouquet, Kim Kardashian's wedding or something like that with a £500 budget and things like that. And, they come to you. That's how they plan their wedding. That's how they get their ideas. They can't see. It's not that people don't have imagination, of course, but they can't see the complete wedding in their mind's eye without this. I'm rambling on a little bit there, so I just want to get back on track with what I wanted to ask you about, but because this is like it's a really interesting subject. but I would love to know about your experience of this. So, you were one day working as, a florist with a phone in a shop, and then what happened? You mentioned Interflora orders at first.
Yeah, I think we started getting more and more by email, and then we had point of sales. Computers came in, and you kind of learn that operating system, and I think that's what makes it easier. And obviously now we've got so many platforms that are all slightly different, so there's a whole myriad of things out there that you need to kind of get your head around as a business owner. Do you just pick two and concentrate on those? Do you try and spread yourself and go on all of them? I think there's, particularly for somebody of my age who's a more mature lady, I'm in my mid-50s now, there's a lot of things to consider, and to keep abreast of all of it is actually sometimes quite difficult, and the changes that come along. And obviously Facebook introduce new features all the time. Instagram, you think you've got a handle on it, and suddenly there's something different next week that you haven't got a handle on. So yeah, you always feel like you're one step behind, or I do, definitely. And also there's a flip side to social media, whereby it's great when your customers are nice, but also there's another side to that, where, we have to put up with reviews from people who've never actually used us, or, people can decide that they are going to have a little dig, and it's, that's a whole learning curve in itself.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. We could do a whole podcast episode on that, I think. Absolutely. So at what point did your business, get a Facebook page and things like that, for example, and what made you kind of think, I really need to get this Facebook page?
I set Mrs. B's up 7 years ago, and it has actually had a Facebook page from the start. Now, I am no expert, Vicky. I'm not like you. I'd love to be, but I'm just not. But I can make it work for what I need it to do.
Yeah.
But equally, I'm quite happy to reach out to a professional and say, I don't understand this, and if my business is worth investing in, then it's worth paying money to do that. I think, and I think a lot of florists concentrate maybe on, doing training courses on their floristry, but don't actually see this as being part of their business. But these days, it absolutely is. Social media is your shop window, particularly if you're studio based.
100%. Yeah. So I guess, 7 years ago was the first time you'd really started using, you'd worked for other people, other businesses, I assume, before then. And did they have Facebook pages and so? Yeah, so this is like a brand new thing to you.
Yeah, I'm in rural Lincolnshire, so we're quite backward. It's a lovely place to live, but it's a very slow pace of life. So yeah, it hadn't quite caught up with the revolution. So no, the shop I left had no Facebook page, didn't actually have a website at that point.
Yeah.
They do now. It's been taken over by a bright young pretty thing who's an amazing florist and a really good friend. So she's really on it. But I realised that if I was going to work from a studio, then I needed a way to get myself out there. And social media is amazing for that.
Yeah.
And I kind of, right from the start, had a Facebook page, and then Instagram came later than that. I find Instagram quite clunky. I'm more comfortable with Facebook, and maybe that's because it's my age group that tends to use Facebook more.
Yeah, I guess, each platform has its own kind of...
absolutely, and its own demographic.
Yeah. That's the word I was looking for, demographic. But yeah, no, this is interesting. I mean, going back to, you were talking about the excellent florist who's taken over that old business that you used to work in. And, when I first started out in floristry, I did work experience in a shop that I actually ended up buying a year or so later. And the lovely Linda at the little flower shop took me under her wing. She was in her early 60s at the time, so she'll be in her early to mid 70s now. And, she had nothing. Like she had no website, no email, no social media, no nothing. Everything was done via phone. And when it came time to her selling the shop because of retirement, it sold for a lot less, for a pretty good price actually. But I knew, even though I looked at the figures and the accounts and stuff and thought, oh gosh, those figures are a bit low, I knew the potential in it.
Yeah.
Because first of all, people knew the shop was there, but also I knew I could bring social media, websites, all sorts of things, online channels into it, and make a success of it. And, thankfully I did. I'm here 11 years later. But yeah, so this is quite interesting. So would you say it did kind of change the way you do business and attract clients and things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can run my business without social media because that's how people find me. I don't spend money on advertising. It is all word of mouth. And often, and I'm sure you find the same thing, we've all got community groups on Facebook, haven't we? And somebody will say, I'm looking for a wedding florist. Yeah. And that's when you start getting the tags and the hits. And, it's brilliant because I can be sitting on my sofa eating my tea and somebody else is doing the marketing for me. It's fab. Yeah. But I do think you have to accept that it is part of your business and you do really have to be on top of that. And if you don't know, go and find somebody that can teach you so that you can have that, because it's such a valuable asset. Be able to just put a post out there, even if it's just to get rid of flowers that you've got left over. They're gone. It's easy. You put a picture on, they go in no time at all. So I think as hard as it is for me to grasp the technology, and I do have to work really hard at it, I also understand that it is massively important to my business to be able to do that. And I think the pandemic in a way helped because, we had to get to grips with Zoom and things like that. And it was that or not eat that week. So that kind of concentrates your mind a bit. So I think, it is possible. Yes, it's probably makes your head hurt and you'd rather be doing 1,000,001 other things. But it is vital, I think, to business these days to be able to do social media well.
100%. I mean, I was going to ask you what sort of importance you place on it, but that's kind of answered that. I think, whether you work from a studio like yourself or from home or even in a retail shop, social media and websites are vastly important. When I ran my retail shop, I'm a wedding specialist now from a studio, but when I ran my shop, we couldn't have survived on just walk-in traffic alone. And also, you need a website. And I spent a lot of money on a website that was no good at first. And, it looked excellent and it functioned, but it brought nothing in. And then I, from a recommendation from a friend, I went with a Florist Window website, which is, couldn't recommend highly enough for those UK florists listening. Florist Windows was fantastic for my business. I know we're steering away from weddings right now and more retail, but it was fantastic. And I started to get people coming into the shop who wouldn't have previously come into the shop. They would come in to maybe order some funeral flowers and say, we've seen this on your website, the family would like to order this. And I'd be like, okay, brilliant. Or you'd even get people ringing up and saying, hi, I would like to order some flowers. We're looking at the golden hand-tied bouquet on your website. And I'm thinking, okay, so you found me, you're on my website now, but you're still ringing up. Which I've always found strange, but I was grateful for the order nonetheless. But so I think, whether you're retail or not, or a mix of both, it's just having an online presence is like I said earlier, it's your shop front, isn't it? And I mean, you do a mix of like weddings and retail, don't you?
I do. Although at the moment I'm in the process of thinking where I'm going to pivot the business next. I may drop the retail and go on to just do weddings and events, just because I don't have enough hours in the day to do everything I want to. The business coaching and mentoring has taken off, and that personally gives me an awful lot of pleasure. And I'm at the age now where, how hard do I want to work?
Well,
I need to work smarter, not harder. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people I coach, they say to me, I'm not going to bother with a website. I'm going to do that a bit further down the line. And I'm like, no. Even if you only have a one-page landing platform, get me, that says, this is who I am and this is how you contact me. Get it out there. Because people will come, they will ring you and say, I found your page, or I mean, I don't actually have an e-commerce website, but I still get an awful lot of orders from that website because people can email me through it, contact me, they can see my work, and they will then go on to make contact.
Well, you and I can have a chat about that afterwards, because you should definitely, you mentioned earlier, working smarter rather than harder, which is one of my big things that I say. I should have it written on this T-shirt.
Yeah, it needs T-shirt.
But you definitely need one in even in terms, because what happens, those people will email you and then it'll be like emails.
Yeah, there is a time lag. That's the only thing.
Yeah. And whereas if it's, someone emails you saying, oh, I need some flowers for the weekend, it's like, great, there's my website, there's the link, go order there. And for a whole host of reasons, that's important. But yeah, well, you and I, we'll
you can work on me later.
Yeah. I'll drag you in kicking and screaming into the 21st century. But no, seriously, it's vastly important. But I found that, in the times when I did retail and weddings, I found that the clients that came into my shop asking about wedding flowers were very different from the kind of people who found me online. And this was one of the big reasons for me kind of pivoting back in 2016 and becoming a wedding specialist only, because like I say, the two clients were very different. The people who just came into the shop because I was the local flower shop, they'd been round the 3 other flower shops local to me. They'd asked around, got some prices, things like that. Whereas the people who came to me online, they came to me because they loved my work already. Yeah. That's one step taken out there already. They're coming to me. Their initial contact with me is online. They've seen me. I love her work. I'm going to get in touch. So they're already kind of on the hook, I suppose. And they weren't coming to me because, I was local to them, or because they were just looking for some prices, or they got in touch because they loved my work. And I found that was a huge difference. So I actually split the branding at first. I had a split the business into weddings and retail. So I had floral quarter weddings, and the website was very different, and it was showing off pictures. It had a message. People who are shopping for, I don't know, a bouquet for their grandma, and they're on a retail website, it's a confusing message if it's all wedding work, or vice versa. Someone who's looking for wedding flowers, they don't want to look at a bog standard kind of website looking at funeral items and gift bouquets. So it's all about that message.
And I guess the nice thing is about online, you can have 3 shop windows if that's what you want.
Yeah.
You don't just have to have the one. You can be all sorts of things, can't you?
Hugely,
because you can just have different things for, the different parts of your business.
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly what I did. It worked so well that I closed down the retail side of it back in 2017, and I do weddings now. So yeah, like we say, it's hugely important to have this online presence. So tell me a little bit about your posting habits then, Viv, as
posting habits,
as an aversion to social media.
Right. I'm not gonna lie at this point, Vicky, and tell you that I look at my insights very often. But I do know when I get the best hits, so I have got that far.
Good.
So I know that Mondays at 6:00 are really good for me.
Okay, that's good.
So I kind of plan over the weekend what I'm going to do as my Monday post. Now, that might be that I've got, like a couple of weeks ago, I had a cancellation for later in the year. So that got posted. It's gone again now. It went within an hour, really. I also have started to schedule posts now. Now I've got my head around doing that. So if I know I'm really busy with weddings, it means that I can still do it. I'm better on Facebook than I am Instagram, because I just think I'm not that comfortable with Instagram. So I think if I put a bit more effort into Instagram, I'd probably reap the rewards. But it hasn't quite happened yet.
No,
so it's a bit sporadic, the posting on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I am your typical 50-something woman who's kind of like, yeah, I'll get round to that.
Well, I hope you do get around to it. No, but I'm really impressed that you place such an importance on it, that you check your insights sometimes and you plan, and you set time aside to schedule and plan things. That's fantastic.
I think it's vital. I genuinely do. Even though I find it such a difficult thing, it is vital to my business that I'm out there and that I'm posting regularly and that I'm kind of hooking them on the interest. And I'm very much me online. So I write in the same style as I speak, and sometimes it's funny. I think the post that got the most attention, I had a cashback done against me, which was fraudulent. And I was upfront and I posted about it, and that just went mad. The amount of comments and things on that. Yeah. So I'm very much be who you are out there as well, because people want to get to know you.
See, I love that. I am always telling that to people, no matter, what age or stage of their career or, anything like that, the florists who I speak to are. I think a lot of people fall into this trap of thinking they need to be floristy and, speak in a business sort of way. And I'm always trying to urge people to just, be yourself online. And I don't think people get that. And I see a lot of florists just saying, the salesy posts. Hello, today we have this pink bouquet. It is £30. Get in touch to buy. And people don't.
It's a bit boring, isn't it?
It is. Like, what do people want to do with that?
It's a bit boring. And I'd rather. I think if I went into a shop, I'd make a relationship with that person. Well, that's an extension of what would be my shop. So they need to get to see the real Viv. They need to know me and how I work and my slightly bonkers, quirky sense of humour and that kind of thing. And that's what draws people in. I get the right clients because I appeal to them by the way that I am putting myself out there.
Love that. I'm so pleased you have that sort of realization though. But, a lot of people think, well, yes, but I need to sell some flowers. I need to show off, what, and that's fine to do salesy posts now and again.
But not all the time.
But no, people don't look at you as the local flower shop or as their potential wedding florist and say, oh, I am glad she sells that pink bouquet at £30 today. Right. It's like, what is that? So showing your face online is well, not just your face, your personality online. Yeah. That's what makes people choose you over the three other florists that they've looked at for their wedding. There's a particular florist, near me, and she's fantastic. She's always getting involved in the community groups and just sort of posting, hello, everyone. There's no mention of come and get, we have bouquets starting at £10 coming on, she's just hello everyone, and I'm not mentioning her name on here, but she's always posting pictures of her and the flowers and just saying hi to the community.
But if people like you, they're more likely to buy from you. I was in the supermarket the other day and I posted a picture. I'd gone out for dinner with another florist who's local to me, and we don't have that whole competition thing.
No, I don't
at
believe
all.
In that word.
We get on really well. So we'd gone out for dinner and we both posted a picture on social media, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder in Morrison's and said, "Did you enjoy your dinner?"
Yeah.
And I knew that she'd seen it on social media. Yeah, now, that was nothing to do with buying flowers from me, but that lady and I don't know who she is, but we have a connection because she follows me on social media. And I think we forget that actually people want to know what we're up to as people and whether they'd like to buy from us, because the buy-in will come.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
So it's kind of, for anyone who, at your stage, who, maybe they're starting floristry later in life or as a second career or something like that, and they're having trouble, I get that sort of urgency of, I need some wedding bookings, I'm just not getting these bookings, panic, and you push salesy stuff out there, but what sort of advice would you give to people who are maybe scared of appearing online or don't know how to appear online and just be them, as opposed to trying to shove their wedding floristry down people's throats and just say, come and book me, please.
When I first started, and I literally knew nothing about social media, I went and followed some florists that I really liked their style, that I felt was similar to the way I was as a person. And I almost analysed how they did their posts, and I structured my posts in a very similar way, using very similar language, but they were people that fitted with me anyway. And I think once you've got comfortable with that and you've done a few posts and you get a bit of feedback from it, and don't be afraid to share it out there, get it in your local community groups. And the worst they're going to say to you is, you're not allowed to post that here. Well, I won't do it again, then I'm really sorry. But it's done its job, somebody's seen you. And I think with things like going live, you've just got to put your big girl pants on and you've just got to get out there and do it, because it feels scary, but you do get used to doing it and it does become natural in the end. I mean, I never thought that I'd do the things that I do. I go live quite often, and, in different places to florists or to my customers or whatever. I think you've just got to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, damn well pay the money and find somebody who can teach you.
Yeah.
Because you've spent exactly like you, Vicky, because you've spent all that money on your floristry training, and we all know it's not cheap to decide to do this. Good quality training costs money. So if you spent all that money on your floristry training, why would you not spend a little bit more to actually have another skill? Because it is a skill.
It's, absolutely. I'm always saying to people, everything is a content creation opportunity as well. That's another one of my sayings. And it's, there's so many content opportunities, like you say, your dinner or, a dog's wandered into your shop, or, things like that. There's so much you can be posting. Sometimes you don't even have to appear online and, put your face online, even, but your personality has to come across online in your words and your posts, things like that. And, just to sort of carry on from what you were just saying there in terms of, paying for training and what have you, it's just as important as the floristry side of it. I think, people who, like yourself, who grew up in just, without websites and things like that in business, they, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you sort of, you don't, you didn't learn that along the way, that was a way of doing business back then. And I think sometimes for people, there's like a resistance of, no, I don't need that. We can do business without that. Or, you have to kind of drag them into the, modern times. And, but I think that the most important thing to say there is that business doesn't work like that anymore. Consumers aren't like that anymore. There's almost a mistrust if you don't have an online presence.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think people see you as a real business if they can Google you. That's just how it is. Especially
for something like wedding flowers, where you're potentially handing over thousands of pounds to book someone for their wedding. And if it's just, sure, word of mouth is massively, that still works and is still just as valuable. But if I'd say been to a friend's wedding and loved their flowers, and I said to my friend, who did those flowers? I want to get in touch with them. I'd then go away and Google them,
check them out,
follow them on Instagram, or things like that, and get to know them a little bit first, maybe. Or, but if they didn't have that, or if they had an Instagram that was like really shoddy looking, or it had a website that was really clunky or gaudy, that would really put me off, or it would make me mistrust them, or even though I'd seen their work and how good it was in person. So.
And I think if you're an older florist, you have to understand that people getting married, chances are probably a good couple of decades younger than you, and you have to be in their world.
Yeah.
And while people my age may not, do you know what I mean? You have to be in their world and look at it through their eyes and how they would look. I did 60 weddings last year, and every single one of those came to me online.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every single one, without fail. That's how important it is.
Kind of touch points, really. There is recommendations, and but people will see you online. Maybe they've just come across you on Instagram because they've seen your Instagram reel or something. Maybe it's a recommendation on a Facebook group and somebody's easily been able to tag you. In this day and age, people are very consumers. I mean, I'm guilty of this myself. I can be a bit lazy. If there's more than one.
I think we all are.
Something, if somebody had recommended me, for example, on a Facebook group, but didn't tag my business page, they just wrote my name or just wrote text and didn't tag anybody, or it's one more step than necessary, and those people are probably not going to end up converting into a booking. Whereas if somebody tagged my page or linked my website, so it was clickable and the person could easily just do one click and say, okay, yeah, this is the florist for me, then it could all end up, being for nothing, from a very well-meaning kind of recommendation or whatever. So there's multiple touch points, and, people might find you there through a recommendation. They might then go on your website. They might then go on Instagram, and it's not just one thing. It's not just a case of walking down a high street, seeing the shop, going into the shop and saying yes or no to a booking. It's people are very easily able to compare things nowadays online. So,
absolutely. And I think everybody goes and has a little snoop, because I do. Yeah. If I want to try somewhere, I'll check out the reviews, I'll check out the website. You have a good snoop, don't you, and see what they like. So you have to be you on all of those things. Absolutely.
And you have to be on the right platforms as well. So that weddings, which is what this is mainly about, Wedding Florist Social, what brides and grooms are on Instagram most of the time, for the vast majority of the time. It's not to say you shouldn't have a Facebook page or anything like that, but I think as a wedding florist, you need to particularly hone in your Instagram skills and really get proficient on there and post the right sort of things on there. I know some people say you shouldn't, but I even just cross post from my Instagram to Facebook, which isn't, people tell you off for that, but it means if you post automatically on your Instagram, automatically goes to your Facebook, because who has time for that? But a lot, my clients are on Instagram. That's where they are. They're not necessarily on Facebook. So it's about, being on.
I think it's about knowing your platforms, isn't it? 100%. And knowing where your demographic lies. Yeah. Really.
Like for you and your business, you do retail and weddings. So the retail stuff will be on Facebook. Yeah. And, the clients who are thinking about booking you for your wedding or maybe haven't discovered you yet are on Instagram.
Absolutely. And TikTok is coming up on the heels very rapidly.
Yes, I don't think brides and grooms are there yet, but I am starting out with it, and I'm building up a presence slowly on there and just learning about it, so that when those brides and grooms become of age and are getting married,
because that will be their platform, and that's where they'll be hanging out, which is, my granddaughter's 11, and she said to me, you've got to get on TikTok now, because that's where my age group will be looking in 10 years' time. And she's absolutely right. They will be, because that'll be their platform. That's what they've grown up with.
Or there might be wholesome new snazzy thing by then.
Well, there will be. Without doubt. Hopefully by then I'll be retired. Now I have to try and get my head around with another one.
You're like, not another one. Oh my goodness. No, but it's super important. It's not just about kind of getting more bookings, it's about getting the right bookings. So before we sort of wind up here, I just want to talk about that quickly, because I am a huge advocate of kind of getting the right clients as opposed to all the clients. And even in my membership, we talk about get the right clients, get more followers, and never be stuck for content ideas again. So it's about getting those right clients through, because it can make such a difference to your business. You're not just taking on any old thing, any old booking. You're kind of pre-qualifying them with your online presence and sending them through your process. And, somebody may Google Wedding Florist Newcastle, see my website, and decide then I'm not for them, and that's fine. That's great. That's the website doing its job.
I'm all for you having your own tribe, because your own tribe makes your life so much easier.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a florist, because they get how you work, because they've liked that.
Yeah.
They've liked the way you are. They've got to get, they've understood your personality, how you operate, the kind of things that you put out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing it for so long. I've seen every style come round for probably the third time now.
Yeah.
But I'm not a florist who will put, a diamond pin in the middle of a gerbera. So don't look for that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So Absolutely. You're already setting your stall out and showing them the kind of thing you do. So like you say, you're getting the people who like what you do and like your vibe, for want of a better word.
Yeah. And this is why I send everyone to the inquiry form on my website. Even if I do get an Instagram DM saying, hey, are you free on this date? I'm like, yeah, here's the link to my inquiry form on my website.
Absolutely.
That's my platform. That's the only one that I own. And, I don't own Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And so people may look at my inquiry form and kind of say, they'll look at the price guide, for example, where it says, I ask for budget, and it says people spend approximately 10% of their budget on wedding flowers. And they might look at that and go, oh my goodness, no, I was only, flowers aren't important to me. I just want a bouquet for me because I'm supposed to have one at a wedding.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If at that stage they sort of say, I don't know, she looks a bit expensive, or that seems a bit too much, or whatever it is, then great. That's my online presence.
Saves you a lot of time and headache.
I would rather they find out than that they come in, have a consultation, doing all of the, quotes and things like that, and then find out that it's too much for them.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then I think just attracting the right people who want the kind of things that you make, and just get on well with you, who like your vibe and things like that. So your online presence isn't about just getting all the bookings. It's about attracting
the right bookings
for you. Absolutely. Yeah. Just quickly, do you use any other online tools such as like a florist software or cloud storage or anything like that?
I'd like to say that I know what you're talking about.
There you go. I would recommend. So like, I use a system called 17 Hats to for the onboarding of wedding clients and stuff. So I don't like create a quote, for example, on a Word document and then email it over and things like that. So it's like an online software that I use for that, and it makes things super easy and slick. And people can just click sign to click, and then click to sign rather, and it's done. And there's even email templates and stuff that I have set up the way I want them, and so it's a couple of clicks for me, and I've sent them a booking confirmation and things like that. And cloud storage is things like somewhere online that you store your images and stuff from weddings, and so rather than being on your actual physical computer. And I asked that question because I'm just interested to see like the wider thing of, because I think some people do have an aversion to online things in general, to sort of look at the computer with dread.
Yeah, I think that's me. I am that woman.
You seem quite good, to be fair, actually.
It's only because I've had to force myself to social media, and now you've told me that there's other things I now need to master. Thanks, Vicky.
Sorry about
that. That's okay. I'm always up for a challenge.
Just adding to your to-do pile.
That's the to-do list got longer.
Some people are just scared of online things in general. They have an aversion to it because it's something they've never learned. So having a Facebook page is it's a big deal for them. And So if you're that person, don't disregard what I say about florist software and cloud storage and things like that, because, that's like, it's baby steps, isn't it? So
I think once you've got comfortable with a bit of it, then you're a little bit more willing to learn a bit more about something else, aren't you? Once you've realised, you can't end the world from your computer, or any, all the fairies aren't going to die if you click on the wrong link or whatever. Then I think you kind of get used to it a bit more, and then you're a bit more willing to try a few other things.
Well, I don't know. I think my mum could manage to do all of that. She'll be like, Vicky, what have I done?
Yeah, I must admit, my son does get a little bit tired. He actually works in the industry, so he is like, oh, for God's sake. And then he does the whole click, click, click thing, and I go, I didn't see it.
Yeah,
that hasn't
you just need to do this, Mum. Click, click, click.
Yeah, that doesn't work. Show me how to do it. I want to know how to do it for myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, I will look into those things, though, Vicky. I will, I promise.
She says through gritted teeth. No, but I think it's a different way of learning, isn't it? You know, when it's something that's that is new to you. You know, it's not like you say, your grandson just they are learning, just accepting the world the way it is with swiping screens and things like that. But for someone like yourself who it's actually a skill that you need to learn. You know, it's I suppose you have to be told exactly what the steps are and things. That
is exactly how I have to learn it, is literally click this, go to that. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a book called Social Media for Dummies. And I have to say that's exactly how it's written.
Yeah.
So I can check things out on there and then usually find my own way round it from that point.
Yeah.
So and I think there's a whole thing about, I shouldn't say that I can't do it because it makes me look stupid. Well, I think if you don't know something, you have to ask the questions to then be able to learn it. So first of all, say, I don't know. I just don't know. So help me do it.
Yeah.
You know, and then that is how you will learn. But it is a vital skill to have in business these days.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So, I think we could chat for a long time about this. I know we've only got a few minutes, but so in this remaining kind of few minutes, do you want to just tell people a little bit about where they can find you if they want to maybe check out your Facebook group and things like that?
Absolutely. So I have a Facebook group called The Floristry Coach. And that is really aimed, it's like a mentoring group. So there's lots of educational content in there. Mm-hmm. So there's files in there that will tell you what the best blush pink roses are for a wedding. Mm-hmm. There's a sample proposal, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And we do question and answer sessions. We have a show off Sunday. So lots of different things that you can join in with or not. You can equally be a member and just be quiet and absorb it all. Mm-hmm. It's a nice group. I don't allow bullying in my playground, so nobody needs to be worried about whether they can post and get ripped apart because it genuinely doesn't happen. We don't allow it. So you can find me at The Floristry Coach on Facebook. I do one-to-one business coaching as well, and that's the place to kind of get me from there, because my website is under construction at the moment, as we say, because it kind of all came out of lockdown and it's all been a bit, 1,000,001 lockdown weddings and trying to build this side of the business as well. So, that's the best place to find me, is in the Floristry Coach Facebook group.
Good stuff. Well, honestly, Viv, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much.
How exciting for my first podcast. So
yeah, there you go. Check you out. Yeah, I mean, you know, yesterday you were talking about Instagram. Today you're on a podcast. You know, there's no stuff. That's brilliant. So thank you so much for coming along to everyone.
No, you're welcome. I really appreciate you inviting me to do it. It's been fun.
It's been lovely to meet you and chat as well. But yeah, I hope everyone listening has really kind of resonated with that and found that really helpful to just hear someone else who is in their position and in their frame of mind. So, if you have any feedback from that, if you know this has been useful for you, do remember to maybe put something in the podcast review or drop me an email at hello@thecontentquarter.co.uk, and I'd love to hear how this has affected you, if it's useful for you, or if you just resonate. I would love to hear. So we'll speak to you on the next episode, and flower on. Thanks so much for listening all the way to the end of Wedding Florist Social. Remember to hit subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. And if you want access to some free community and support, then head across to Facebook and look me up on the Worldwide Wedding Florist Community Group. I look forward to seeing you there.